should be fine. All right, folks, we're going to be finishing up.
I'm going to leave because I have to. I've got something I've got to do. Thank you, John. You're inspiring us,
thank you
and
all.
I appreciate it. And y'all have fun, and don't get too upset or anything.
Oh no, we're just talking options that folks here in the county need to be aware of. And I think one of the things we were talking about in the first segment when we were talking about, you mentioned that the Chatham Ag folks are going to have a public hearing where the farmers in the community can come out to speak.
And all citizens.
And all citizens.
Yes, all the citizens. The Ag Board, I've requested as a farmer, because this project is going to affect agriculture so much in Chatham County. I've requested a public hearing focused on the Enbridge pipeline. And if they decide to do this, which I haven't gotten any response back, but I assume that they will because it really is serious, and a lot of farmers have been complaining and other landowners have been complaining. So I think we'll have a public hearing. So I think it'll happen. I expect this to be a big crowd. We need lots of farmers involved, other citizens that consume the produce, whatever, from the farms.
I knew that. I was going to say that.
Yeah, and we need citizens in general to show up. Farmers, citizens in general, other landowners on the pipeline route. I think we're going to have a huge crowd.
All right, I can't tell you how much of an impact that means for people to show up.
Oh yeah, it's in the planning board.
I mean, the commissioners, the planning board, the ag board, it means because it's one thing for you to send me an email. It's one thing for you to call me and say you're not happy with it. But if your butt gets up off of a couch and you come to that meeting, I know that you're a legitimately concerned citizen. And I think that's how all government works, that it's really powerful for people, even if you don't say anything, to come in there. Now, the more people speak, the better. But even just sitting there and being aware that there's a big crowd makes an impact on all the boards.
It does. And let me ask you this question, because at the first open meeting, second open meeting, you were very concise. You were up there, I think 7 whatever minutes, but boom, 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 boom.
Right.
There were some people, and I apologize to these folks, that had a little bit of diarrhea of the mouth. So to come into this with a good plan, if you choose to speak as a speaker, what do I need? How do I need to prep to take advantage of that time that I have in front of the board and in front of the public? Because I'm planning to be there to record that and let folks know what's going on. Because not everyone's going to be able to make it, but you're saying the more people we have show up, it could have a big effect.
Well, because of what I've done throughout my life, I've talked with different groups. So I knew what needed to be said as quickly as I could. I still took too much time. If I were in the planning board,
you would have cut you in half.
I would have been told by Nelson. Right. But Nelson, he's my friend.
He's a great guy.
So I just simply smiled and finished up my last 10 seconds.
Right.
No big deal. But the big thing is, think seriously about what you want to tell the Ag Board, because it's not going to just stay with the Ag Board. It's going to go to the county commissioners, and then it's going to go to state government and federal government. Believe it or not, this is huge, and we could set precedent for the entire state if it's done right. So think about what you want to say, practice it possibly, maybe just have topics written on a card, but don't read exactly what you're wanting to say. It needs to come from your heart. And if you do that, you can sell your ideas to people. So that's my recommendation.
I think one of the people that was effective, and I've gotten feedback on the videos I put up, was Crystal. She was talking about her family that has owned land for over 100 years.
Correct.
And there's a history there, and it's farmland, and this is just going to disrupt generations worth of, and it's not
I think that's a legitimate concern and an argument. What we hear so often is, I moved out here to get away from this. I don't like this. I don't want this. And that just, it goes in one ear and out the other. But when you say, this is going to disrupt my farm, that resonates. That'll resonate to all three.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, you mentioned this will go to a federal level. Why exactly, in this case, might it go?
It does not go to a federal level in terms of authorizations, like the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, FERC. certification. That's not it, because it's an intrastate pipeline. It goes to state agencies, but also it's going to be reviewed by the Corps of Engineers. That's federal.
Right.
Okay, so that's a 404 permit. But my major focus is on the state agency, Department of Environmental Quality, and specifically the Division of Water Resources, because they issue the 401 certification, which if Enbridge gets that, it's full steam ahead. It's going to happen. The Utilities Commission is a rubber stamp commission. They look basically at safety, but it's the DWR, Division of Water Resources, that issues the authorization basically to proceed. So everything we're doing in Chatham County is going to ultimately focus on them. And so that's why this Ag Board report to the county commissioners, and it will be forwarded to various state and federal agencies, is so important. The federal agencies I'm ignoring because they're rubber stamp agencies now. With the state agency is a different story.
All right. So folks who do choose to speak should. Now, do you feel that the folks that speak should tend to be farmers, or just basically anyone who owns land, or
Anybody,
Okay.
anybody in Chatham County. It should be Chatham County citizens. Because it's the Ag Board, the farmers need to speak up if they're going to be affected. But there are other people also going to be affected. There are over 150 houses within the corridor that we saw between those two lines
Right.
at the public meetings. It totals just the houses, if you value them at $250 a square foot, which is low, okay? Right? Pretty
That's
low.
probably average.
Yeah,
That's probably
so,
average.
yeah. So, it goes 250 to 280 per square foot. But if you do that, you get $55 million in just the houses, not the garages, not the barns, not the outbuildings, not the sheds, not the tractors, other farm implements. Just the houses, $55 million worth of real estate that's going to be affected by this pipeline.
Well, and the other thing that I
that's
saw
huge.
sometimes is like you'll have a 4-acre tract and the line will come in through diagonally. And so they're saying that they're taking 50%, but you've destroyed the entire 4 acres because you
yes.
can't build in this triangle, you can't build in this
Right.
triangle. And, that's the thing that gets so complicated about these situations.
Yeah.
Or you can have a nice rectangle, even have a large tract like John has, but they go through the corner of it, and now
You
you're
lost that
isolated.
corner.
You're isolated from that, or it makes and they do allow crossings, but it's like once at a 90-degree angle, and you have to get their permit. It just makes things complicated.
And what's so beautiful with ours is they're not going to a corner; they're going right through the center of it.
Yeah, I can't.
The southern third, but they're going through the top part of the southern third of both of my parcels that were
Yeah.
sold to me. So
Right.
it's numbing the effects on people. And what's interesting is I haven't heard a single person talk about this is a Republican issue. This is a Democratic issue.
Oh, no.
This
Yeah.
is an independent issue.
Right.
This is whatever issue. It's not. It's apolitical. And so that's why I think we're going to win, is because it is apolitical, and ultimately the legislature should wake up from its stupor and really think about what it's been considering in terms of eminent domain for a number of years now, and actually do something to protect particularly our farm communities all over the state, because they're dwindling fast.
Can't have it both ways. Can't have it both ways. They
No.
talk about protecting farms all the time.
well,
yeah.
farming is still a large percentage of what happens in Chatham County with the small farms.
It's over $1 billion in economic production per year in Chatham County. $1 billion. What is Enbridge going to do compared with that?
Right.
That's huge.
The other thing I noticed in the two public hearings, I'm glad I went to both of them, was that I noticed that there was a cross section of folks speaking, men and women,
Yep.
gray-haired and non-gray-haired. And I think one of the things that hit me on the second day was Jenna, who I happen to know works here in the Chatham Park area. She's in her early 20s, and she came out strongly expressing her
Yeah.
opinion as well. So it's not,
Good.
hey, it's not just the folks who are
Yeah.
retired or older. It's multi-generational,
Yeah.
back to what Crystal said with her family.
Yes.
Is, I mean,
And that's what we're going to need with the public hearings, with interactions with political leaders of all persuasions. I mean, what's interesting is I talk with Republicans about this. I talk with Democrats about this. I'm an independent. I haven't had any conversations with independents specifically that I know of, other than maybe some of my other family members. But anyways, they all seem to
I'm
say,
unaffiliated.
they say the same thing. You know, this
It's
is
an emotional.
bad.
I mean, eminent domain is called a taking.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's a taking.
Right.
And that crosses political lines. I mean, they didn't pick the parcels based on political parties, and so the ones that are
Yeah.
affected aren't. You know, it
That's
affects
a good-
everybody the
that's a
same
good
way.
point.
Yeah.
One of the other things that I had heard at the public hearings, I think in both the first one Wednesday and then on Thursday night, is there were several people that basically told Enbridge, "We're taking you to court."
Yeah.
So I guess that's one of the options, and that's actually one
Yeah.
of the options you're looking at as well.
Well, my problem is I personally like to fight. I don't like to turn it over to other people.
Okay.
So I'm fine going before judges. I'm fine going before juries, because if I'm asked a question, I'll tell the truth. And I've got a lot of information to back me. Information that there's no lawyer who could shoot from the hip as quickly as I can shoot from the hip, because I've lived this for 40 going on 50 years of being out in basically the wilderness, what's left of rural North America. I've been there, traveled 10,000 miles of creeks and rivers to know what I know. So if I go before a judge or a jury, they're going to listen to me because I tell the truth. So maybe I'll get a lawyer, maybe I won't. Let's let Enbridge wonder what I'm going to do.
Okay.
That's
Well, that's still an
my-
option. That's an option. Again,
Yes.
that's available to ordinary citizens, and if you
Everybody.
and the folks in Chatham County who may be sitting as part of the jury, they
Right.
may take a look at that and say, Enbridge is wrong. This Chatham County resident is right, and
Yeah.
make it very expensive for them.
Right.
So,
Right. And the thing about expense, if every Chatham County landowner on that pipeline route were to do the same thing, no, you can't take our land. Keep saying no to Enbridge. No matter what they say, you say no. You have to take me before those judges.
Bundle
in
of
the end.
sticks, right? Bundle of sticks.
Yes.
Yep.
You go before the judges. If everybody were to do that and say, we've basically been offered millions of dollars for a property. In my case, that's true. And we've said no even to those millions of dollars. So I think we will get to the judicial system, but some people need lawyers. Some people think they don't, and maybe I'm one of them, and that's why I have to think about this. And that should keep Enbridge on its toes, saying, is he going to get a lawyer or not?
Right. One of the other things that came up, I think you briefly discussed it, and I know there were several people who referenced back to the maps, the Rocky River.
Yes.
What's the scoop on the Rocky River for folks who are
yeah,
watching this?
That's your Tim Sweeney situation.
Yes. So Tim Sweeney has sunk millions of dollars into protecting the Rocky River, 16,000 plus acres in Chatham County.
Plus
total.
the feeder streams.
Yes. And other groups,
Yeah, that's all
other
it is.
groups, the Triangle Land Conservancy, other private entities like myself. I didn't buy into the Rocky River Subbasin just because I thought it was a good deal. I had other places all over North Carolina that I could go to, but I chose the Rocky River to conserve it and to do work my business magic on my business plan. So there are conservation groups that have been hard at work for decades. Sweeney's been hard at it for decades. He's taken out a dam on the Rocky River.
Yeah.
He's funding a engineering study to move a sewer line away from the Rocky River, and that Tri-Rivers is planning to put from Siler City down to
Right.
the Deep River.
When he buys a piece of property, he does ecological surveys. He can tell you
Yes.
how many newts, how many shiners, how many clams, how many raccoons. I mean, it's incredible what he does when he buys a
How do
piece
you
of
decide
property.
to settle in Chatham County?
Buy in Chatham County. He was.
I mean, and not so. I
It
mean,
was
buy.
actually his first property was a property that I used to own, and then Wade Barber bought it from me. It was 300 acres on Reeves Chapel, and he was mountain biking on it, and then he just started assembling from there, and then he started patchworking it and connecting them all together.
Right. But the big driver was NC Natural Heritage Program that I mentioned at that second meeting, and that Enbridge didn't even apparently ask for their data. Tim Sweeney worked with the Natural Heritage Program, and he identified also, beyond what you said, he identified the Rocky as a premier area for aquatic conservation.
Right.
Why? Because biologists like myself, we worked with the Nature Conservancy back in the 90s, and we identified all of the most important aquatic habitats throughout the United States. And there are only like 15% of the watersheds, big watersheds, that are really hot spots for biodiversity. And the Rocky River is one
Happens
of
to
them,
be one.
and the Deep River too, but the Rocky in particular. So the Rocky River, we have to conserve. People have been doing that, working on it for dozens of years, and Enbridge is going to come in and try to derail all of that.
All right, we need to wrap it up because you got an appointment coming up. We've
Yep.
eaten up a whole bunch of your time. You got one coming up too.
Yep.
Anything else to finish this up for folks?
No, I think it was very informative. I appreciate it, John. Thank
Yeah.
you.
All right,
Appreciate
folks.
it.